Hello everyone, welcome back to the Hindu Explain series. So I was very happy again to see so many of you getting the answer correct for the quiz yesterday. We'll be continuing with this practice on a daily basis. I'll put in something for you all to look up because that will be coming in the discussion for tomorrow's video, the next day, okay? So before we begin in today's discussion, I'll briefly discuss certain things that have been discussed in the comment section, okay? So first of all of you, a lot of you have been asking us to put notes for this. So see, the reason why we do this on a daily basis and have the newspaper in the background is that we want to do it spontaneously, that you follow through every page. And with regards to the things that I discuss in depth, we are working on a system where you can get those notes, things that I write down on the board. As for in-depth analysis, we're working, figuring out a methodology so that all of you can have it. Okay, so don't worry about that. Next thing is regarding the Roshni Act that a lot of you have been asking. So see, the Roshni Act has a history since 1950s, okay? And it has the reason why it came into being is for land reforms and to enhance the economy and state exchequer base, okay? So once there are more details, don't worry, this Sunday or on the beginning of the next week, I will be covering that topic in depth once we have all the details with regards to the history of the land reforms. And because see, the Roshni Act itself is a very specific legislation, but there are other things that become relevant for you in the sense of land reforms and a little bit of history of that, okay? Because that is more of a legal plus general affairs with regards to India's journey of zamindari and land reforms and how to redistribute lands, okay? So once there are more details, don't worry, I will cover it at the weekend or in the beginning of the next week. So rest assured. Now, let's dive in. On today's paper, there is the news of Cyclone Nivar approaching. It has approached. Hopefully, most of the people have been evacuated and there is no casualty there because the government has been impromptu, has established and removed almost 1 million people to safer areas. So that is the news. We'll discuss about cyclones in a little bit more depth. Then there is new COVID guidelines issued by the Ministry of Home Affairs on the right hand side. So one of the things that they have stated is that see, states are free to impose a night curfew, but lockdowns cannot be imposed in state without the prior permission of the central government. Plus, only lockdowns can be imposed in specific areas where there has been a large scale outburst. Now, on the left hand side, there is political news with regards to the farmer protest, and there is the demise of Ahmed Patel, Diego Maradona. So both those things become relevant in the sense of Maradona being an icon in Argentina and with regards to football in general, and then Ahmed Patel, a very important parliamentarian with regards to the Congress party, a very senior leader. He was a prime person with regards to when the UPA was in power for 10 years. So his demise is has been mourned by the Prime Minister, President of the Congress party and the President of India. So across political spectrum, it has been discussed. Now, on the other news, there is again specific news. So see, whenever there are news about from the courts, okay, not everything becomes relevant about them. So this is a case with regards to violence, the Delhi riots that happened in February, March. So these things are general cases, okay. They don't have much relevance with regards to academic point of view. Daily updates. So see, the court procedure is that a case is filed, then the appeal goes to the High Court and the Supreme Court, then the hearings are going on. So these are reportings that go on with regards to the hearing. What becomes relevant for us is the judgments, okay. So we'll be discussing one judgment that becomes really important for you all based on today's news. Now, on the other news is again more and more irrelevant from exam point of view. Then on the editorial front, there is nothing of sort that is specifically relevant for us, okay. The main editorial. So I'll just clarify something that has been going on in the comment section and a lot of you also have doubts. See, editorials are relevant in the sense of the things that I tell you are relevant, okay. Everything else is something that you can totally ignore because they are political news or things that are not generally asked in the CLAT examination. So with regards to editorials that I say are relevant, what should you do about them? So I highly recommend that, see, yesterday also I had stated that the editorials are freely available. So the reason why you should give editorials a read is because, see, I am telling you a certain summary and conclusion with regards to the editorial, and that forms part of you, that forms part of an analysis after a reading. So now the reason why you all should also read the editorial that is available is because, one, it gets you into a general reading practice. Is a reading based exam. You have to read in the during the examination. It's an in-depth analysis. Now the second reason why you should read is also because, are you able to arrive at the same conclusion or something that I have arrived, or in general I have concluded? So that means that you are able to analyze the things in a similar manner, and that way you are following what is actually the intention of the authors in general. So this is why reading the editorial after, let's say, I've highlighted these are important and what I have stated, that is why reading them becomes important. So you should give a read to the editorials that I tell you are relevant for you. Now, this is an editorial by our former Home Minister and Finance Minister and Commerce Minister during PV Narasimha Rao, P. Chidambaram. Now, he states that, see, India needs to have a more export based economy because, see, without exports, we can't create labor intensive jobs in apparel, leather industry. So that is why he says that exports become important. Now, those are suggestions, those are policy concerns. He's suggesting that why exports are important. Now, there is nothing specific for us in it. So that is why that doesn't become important. Then on the left hand side, it's more about Congress leadership and how Ahmed Patel was important, and then why his void will now that there is a void, there will have to develop a new system in the party. And secondly, that Congress has started the process of internal elections. So that is something that people are looking forward to because it will establish a new order in the party. Nothing political news, not relevant. Okay, then on the left hand side again is about India's tour to Australia that is supposed to begin from tomorrow. So it is the biggest sporting event with regards to cricket that is taking place post the pandemic hit in March. So that is why it is in the spotlight. Also because India's two big players, Virat Kohli will be missing the test series and Rohit Sharma is still injured and hasn't travelled to Australia. So it's highlighting how the series becomes important for young players to come to fore. If there are any records that are formed in the series, we will be keeping an eye on that. Then on the right hand side is about labour reform. Remember that past 2 days also there has been a report about labor reforms being taking place, and but this is also telling that how labor unions need to form a more conclusive consolidated agenda so that they are able to convey their concerns to the government. And it is saying that how judiciary has become the only place through which they can do it because the opposition is ineffective. All policy concerns, nothing specific from CLAT perspective. Okay, now on the left, on the second page, the main editorial is analysis of AIDMK getting into political alliance with the Bharatiya Janata Party for the 2021 assembly elections. Not relevant. Okay. Then on the right hand side is something very interesting that is there, not from a CLAT perspective, but a general thing. So this is Sushant Sinha writing. He's the founder of a legal search engine, Indian Qanun. Once all of you are in law schools, Indian Qanun is the one legal database through which you can find judgments for free of cost. Okay, so once you'll be in law school, the Indian Qanun website will become really important for you all because it is something that you can freely access from any point of time, and that is why this article is relevant for all legal aspirants. All of you want to go to legal, and this website will be something that will be close to you during your journey as a law student, okay, and even beyond that. So he's asking that how basics are more important for students and not technicalities of artificial intelligence. And he's saying that, see, why do we create apps? We create apps or computer software to make our life easier. We have figured out that there are certain problems and the apps are a methodology to solve it. The reason why children should not be involved with AI is because children don't have enough experience of what their troubles are. Life experience is missing for children, and that is why putting or pushing children to learn such advanced technologies at such an early age is devoiding them of the joy of learning, curiosity, and their basics become weak. So I suggest that you guys should give a read to this article, not from a CLAT perspective but in general, because see, there is something for all of us to learn always whenever it's regarding general development on societies. So I suggest that you all give it a read in general. Okay, then on the left hand side is again American troubles with regards to transition. We have been discussing that for a long time. Okay, now again on the other national news, again there is nothing specific apart from this update that Jallikattu, a Malayalam film, has become the official entry of India for the Oscars this year. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, what happens there. Then more political news. Then there is one news about a defense acquisition. We'll discuss this. And on the other news, again, India has banned another set of Chinese apps and China has slammed this. So that is something that has been a going on part of India-China conflict. Then there is, so yesterday we had discussed Poshan Abhiyan, if you all remember. Now there is a report that, see, this entire system, the website of Poshan Abhiyan, which is based, which has been developed by the Bill Gates Mandela Foundation, Poshan Abhiyan's Integrated Child Development Service Common Application Software, ICDS-CAS, has been, the server has been not active, or it's inactive for the past 3 months. So that is a big concern, right? That for the past 3 months, something that is really important and has been in news and for nutrition of child has been something that is not working for the past 3 months. And then there is other news with regards to political affairs. On the international level also there is more US transition and all. And then there is a news about Bhutan establishing formal ties with Germany. We'll be discussing this. And moving on the sporting front, there is Diego Maradona passing away. He passed away, he was 60 years old and he is an icon. So for example, just like Sachin Tendulkar is an icon in India, that we believe, and cricket is not just a sport but something of an emotion. Football has the same position in Argentina and South America in general. And Diego Maradona is the rags to riches story that came true to the level that he won single-handedly Argentina their World Cup. World Cup is something, football World Cup is something that is a national obsession for the Argentinian people. Just like a cricket World Cup becomes really important for Indians, Diego Maradona has the same place. But he's also an icon for football fans across the globe. So that is why his demise is something of a huge deal, okay? He was also the FIFA player of the century along with Pele from Brazil. And Argentina has won 2 World Cups, he's won the Ballon d'Or, and so his demise is a huge void for the people of Argentina. Led his country to victory in the 1986 Football World Cup. So that is why it's a huge event for the football fans, okay? Now, there's another thing that we'll be discussing before we get into in-depth detail, which is that today is the 99th birth anniversary of Verghese Kurian. Now, so let's dive in. Verghese Kurian, as you know, he is known as the milkman of India, the father of white revolution, and the operation under which Amul was established, Operation Flood. This led India from being insufficient for our local demands to the world's highest milk producing country in the entire world. So he's credited for that transformation of India. There are certain prominent awards that has been given to him, which is Padma Bhushan, Vibhushan, Roman Magsaysay. He's also won Padma Shri and the World Food Prize. So all these awards become relevant, and this entire, so that is because it's his birth anniversary, I felt that it is important to highlight his achievements even though they are not in the newspaper. Today is also important for 2 reasons. One, it is the anniversary of the terror attacks on Mumbai, 26/11, when 10 terrorists stormed into the Taj Hotel. in 2008. So that's a very sad event. It shows that how radicalization of people's mind and terrorism sponsored by a specific country can lead to so many lives being lost. Also, today marks the National Law Day. Today was the day that the preamble and our constitution was enacted. So this day becomes relevant because on this day our constitution was complete, the Constituent Assembly had reached a landmark. India was finally a constitutional democracy from this day onwards. Our real the constitution came into force on 26th January based on the events in our past of our freedom struggle, but on 26th November we had finally completed our constitutional journey. So that is why today 26th November is really important. These events are something that you need to keep in mind because see, even if they are not in the news, they are dates that have passed across the time and they are relevant in general. So you should keep an eye on that, but don't worry, I am there to help you even if you don't remember. Now, with the first news, okay? So, in January, Supreme Court decided a case which was named as Anuradha Basin versus Union of India. What is this case? This case is about the internet shutdown in the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir and now the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. Okay, so on August 4th, a day before Section 370 was Article 370 was revoked or diluted, the state was put under an internet shutdown. Now, under the internet shutdown, it has been going on ever since. Remember that the people in Jammu and Kashmir have not been able to access information through the internet based on reasons. Now, what were the reasons were not given. Why was there internet shutdown? What was the reason why the internet shutdown has been in so long? And that was contended by human rights activists and opposition parties in the Supreme Court. And then the court arrived at a judgment in January, and the principles become important for all of you. The first is that, see, indefinite restriction is a violation of Article 19. See, Article 19 is not just you having your speech, but is also a methodology for you to attain information. Okay, and when there is information lockdown, there is an indefinite shutdown, you are unable to access that knowledge and or information, and that is why when it is an indefinite, a non-stop lockdown in a democracy, then that is a violation of Article 19. So the court stated that, see, you always have to give reasons of why you are shutting it down. So even if, let's say that tomorrow curfew is imposed in any of the cities, the state executive or the machinery has to upload the reasons, state the reasons why a shutdown is being imposed, how long will it be imposed, and why it is being imposed. So those reasons are to be given. Remember, in Jammu and Kashmir, none of that was provided. The orders were never given. It was just published that, see, it has been shut down. Why it has been shut down, what is the reason for it being shut down, not stated. Why is it in news today is because the court stated that after every 15 days, you have to review whether you have to extend the internet shutdown or not. And this deadline got completed yesterday, and the parliamentary panel, the Standing Committee on Information and Technology, held a meeting that why aren't you giving reasons of why the internet shutdown is still in place, but the deadline of it is already finished. So the government within the meeting stated that, see, it is a matter of national security and we can't tell you. But the court has ordered the government to actually tell the people that why it is being done so, that what is the reason that the internet shutdown is there. See, India is a constitutional democracy. We are governed by the rules. So even if we have elected the government is also supposed to follow certain rules. And that is one of the rules that the court has established within this case. So the government is obligated to tell its people why they cannot access this information. See, the reason why all this is a conflict or something of importance is because the state still has access to these resources, right? The rulers, the people who are ruling the state, the people of Jammu and Kashmir have access to information, but the people don't have it. So why don't the people have something that the rulers have is something they have to tell the people. So this is a process of democracy, that rulers cannot, that democratic governments are representative of the people and not rulers, that they cannot have privileges that the common people cannot attain. So that is why this is an entire constitutional mandate and given in our rules. So this is in conflict what happens whether the government provides it or not. Nevertheless, the people in Jammu and Kashmir are still under internet shutdown, and this could be a violation of the case, or and the parties could approach the court in the sense that the law is not being followed by the government. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. Now the next case, we have on lease taken 2 Navy drones from the US. Now, what is the company and what is the name becomes important, because certain defense acquisitions now become relevant for us. So UAV drones, unmanned aerial vehicles, are something that you can use to scout, even now attack. Now these are drones produced by General Autonomous Aeronautical Systems. This is the company that has made them. And what is the name of these planes that we have taken? So we have taken Sea Guardian MQ-9B, but it is a naval version of the original aircraft, which is named as Predator MQ-9. It was first inducted in the United States in 2001, 2002. It's been there for 20 years in the US, but India has stated that it needs 30 of them in total, and that all three forces need 10 each. So the government has stated that, see, we don't have funds to buy them, but what we can do is we can take them for a year, because see, India is facing a lot of boundary dispute with China. There is conflict on the border, our maritime security, because China is trying to impose its own maritime holding in the Indian Ocean. So that is why these planes become relevant and are of need. But because we can't afford them, our defense budget has been contracting ever since 2014. The year-on-year budget of Indian Defence Forces has been reducing in totality, and that is why we don't have enough funds to buy new aircrafts and acquisition. So we have to manage them. And how are we managing? So we have taken 2 aircrafts on lease for the Navy this year. Okay. There are certain attributes of the aircraft which I'll just state, that it can fly up to 40,000 feet and has a radar of 3,600 maritime surveillance radar. Those are 2 attributes. It can be flown remotely and can be used for reconnaissance. Reconnaissance means seeing where the other things are without actually risking human lives there. Okay. Moving on to the next news regarding Bhutan. So Bhutan has established formal ties. Formal ties mean that, see, now there will be an ambassador in this country, and there will be an ambassador of Bhutan in Germany. So formal ties, that, see, people can freely travel, and there will be engagement on a state level. Till now, Germany and Bhutan had consular access to each other, that there were consulates, and if someone traveled, they could reach, but not on a formal level. Now there are formal ties happening. A brief history of Bhutan. Bhutan is a constitutional monarchy. That, see, there was a monarchy in Bhutan. They abdicated their power, just like in United Kingdom, that the royal family exists, and their head of the state, that is the nominal head of the state. For example, in India, it's the president, he's elected, so we are a republic. But in Bhutan, it's the king, just like in United Kingdom, the queen. So they are a constitutional monarchy. Constitutional in the sense the government of the state, the real power still lies with the constitutionally elected democratic government. So it also has a parliamentary system. So that is why they are a constitutional monarchy. Now, who is the the ruler there? Jigme Khesar Nagmyal Wangchuk. He is the ruler there, and the prime minister is Lotte Schering. Okay, recently the queen was in news because she had won an award. If you don't remember, I suggest that you check the series, because that was an important award for the United Nations Population Award. She won for her work on sexual awareness. So that is something, if you haven't watched that, you should. Now the capital is Thimphu. A brief history of their ties. So Bhutan established formal ties with India when we signed a friendship treaty with India, Bhutan in 1949. So India and Bhutan are formal allies plus friends if Bhutan is in trouble, our military is going to help them. Something like, for example, when Maharaja Hari Singh uh, had sought India's assistance on the same level when Pakistani forces or tribal forces had started infiltrating in Jammu and Kashmir in 1948. So we have a formal friendship with Bhutan. Any attack on Bhutan is an attack on India. Then in 2007, the monarchy abdicated its power and Bhutan started the process of becoming a democracy. Since 2008, they have had elections regularly. No P5 nation, permanent nations, have direct formal ties with Bhutan. This is because it wants to keep itself out of political power play from different countries, specifically US and China. And now Bhutan has 53 states plus the European Union with whom they have formal ties. Moving on, now with regards to the news on the cyclone. So a lot of you got it correct that the name Nivar has been suggested by Iran. But what are cyclones? Cyclones, how do they form? Okay, tropical cyclones form when the temperature of the sea becomes warmer, and so the warm air rises and cold air condenses to the bottom. So the warmer the air above, the warmer the sea, the warmer the air above it, and that air rises above the plains or the surface of the sea. Then a low pressure cell is formed in the skies, which leads to a tropical depression. Tropical depression is something, if it intensifies, then we have a tropical cyclone. Okay, in the southern hemispheres, the cyclone rotates clockwise, and in the northern hemispheres, it rotates counterclockwise. Okay, anti-clockwise. Now how do we classify the cyclones? There are 7 categories for it. So if it is less than 31 kilometers per hour, it is low pressure. If it is 32 to 49, it's a depression. If it is 50 to 61, it is a deep depression. 62 to 88, cyclonic storm. 89 to 118 kilometers per hour, a severe cyclone storm. And 119 to 221 kilometers per hour speed, very severe cyclonic storm. Nivar is a very severe cyclonic storm with winds up to the speed of 145. Okay. Now, when do we there are two other terms with regards to cyclones. One is landfall. Landfall happens when the cyclone actually reaches the land. So the cyclone forms at the sea. Once it hits the land mass or the main, so for example, it will be hitting Indian Peninsula at the states of Tamil Nadu primarily. So the landfall, the place where it first hits the land is the place of landfall. And the second is the eye. Eye is the center of the cyclone. The wind speed there is less, plus the rainfall there in the eye is also less. Okay, so these are the other two terms. Now with regards to nomenclature of cyclones. Okay, now this is the system of nomenclature of cyclones. Okay, yesterday I told you that, see, World Meteorological Organization plus the EXPAS are the two organizations under which they suggest the names. Now what is the criteria for naming them? Okay, why do we have these names, the list of these names? This is the name list that we'll be following till we complete this name. Once there is cyclone Gisby, then we will need a new set of names. Okay, till then we'll be following this list. So the next cyclone that hits the region will be named as Burevi. So this is the list that I've put out. Okay, now why do we name it the way we name them? The first is that they have to be neutral, no connotation to anything specific. They have to be neutral in the sense of no gender or specific to a place, so that we don't confuse them. Second, they have to be sensitive and not hurtful. We can't have names that are hurtful to anyone. Let's say we can't name a cyclone a Negro or a black or something that is insensitive to any other population, homophobic or any other matter. So they have to be sensitive words. So that is why we have the words like Gulab, Arnab, Tej, Aag, Vyom. Okay, so these are names that are in principle not hurtful to anyone. Then second is they have to be short and easy to pronounce. 8 is the maximum character limit that a cyclone name can have. Okay, so for example, Mandos or Naham, this Naham is 8 letter, okay? That is the maximum that you can have. The last is they have to be unique in the sense that there cannot be a repetition of anything. The names always have to be unique. You cannot repeat a name that has already been used previously. So this is the nature of cyclones with regards to, this is the third very severe cyclonic storm that has hit India in 2020. Now the reason, let's go do a little bit of rewind. Why is this happening? Why are we having more and more cyclones in India? Which is because, see, of climate change. The earth is heating up, so the seas are heating up. When seas are heating up, there are more tropical cyclones happening. When more cyclones are happening, there is more destruction on the landmass. So see, this is an entire cycle that is happening now. And there was the news, and there was national news today, which we didn't cover, which is a highlight of why there is more and more climate change happening, or what are the other consequences of the climate change, okay? Which is that, see, there is a fire at the Ghazipur landfill that AAP demands fair investigation. Ghazipur is a landfill in Delhi. People who are from Delhi or who have been to Delhi would know that this landfill is like a mount or a hill that it's higher than the fort of Tughlaqabad now. And this is the trash that we humans create. This is the trash that we create, which is not biodegradable. So all this is happening because of humans, because the way we live our lives. And that is why there is now concerns of climate change. There is concern of why we should segregate our waste. Wet waste, dry waste should be segregated, and that we should reject plastics. We should reject single-use plastic, because see, this is what is happening now. These people living here or nearby, the air there, the water there is permanently damaged. It cannot be retrieved because of trash we all develop. And these landfills are coming up near every major city. And that is something that all of us need to keep in mind all the time, that every time we pick up a plastic bag from a store, it's something that is going to harm us in the long term, because these cyclones or these things will keep on happening unless we fix our life. So on that note, I'll conclude today. Thank you so much. If you have liked the video, do give it a thumbs up, because see, we really appreciate your, that is your way of appreciating our work, and it is for you also. Do appreciate it in that manner. Share it further if you like it. There are other people who want to watch it or need to know about this. And then subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, and hit the bell icon. Thank you so much. Keep watching and see you tomorrow.